One More Night, issue number 4, Mandatory Losses. Bill was starting to get cold while he stood outside of his car. He decided that he would ignore the cold, as men often do. Instead, he began to ruminate about the events that led up to him standing outside of his car. It all started with him walking into his kitchen to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Bill didn't see peanut butter and jelly sandwiches as mere nourishment as much as he saw them as a vice. There was something about the simplicity of PB&J mixed with the euphoric taste of the sandwich that drove him to obsession. Anyway, perhaps if he had learned to subdue his passion, he wouldn't have walked into the kitchen and talked to Robbie. As a result, he and Robbie had spent the whole night together looking for Joyce Reynolds, so that Robbie could tell her how he felt. They inevitably went to Juan's house and found out that Joyce was at the bowling alley on Bryant and Oak. When they reached the bowling alley, Bill coached Robbie on what to do in case of rejection, which, as all men should already know, is to simply show no reaction. Anyway, Robbie had gone into the bowling alley for a total of 5 minutes before coming out with a blank expression that made him look like he had just had a lobotomy. I suppose that's one way to show no reaction. To be fair though, it was Robbie's first attempt at looking stoic, and he was only 18 years old. Robbie got into the car and said one word: "Drive." Bill had only driven around the corner when Robbie's front began to dissipate. Bill quickly found an entrance to a residential neighborhood and drove in. After they were 4 blocks into the neighborhood, Bill parked the car and turned off the engine. He unbuckled his seatbelt and turned to Robbie, saying, "I'm going to stand outside. You take as long as you need." And without waiting for Robbie to respond, Bill exited the car and shut the door behind him. All of this because of a sandwich, Bill muttered to himself as he stood in the cold. He looked at his phone to see what time it was. He had been standing outside of his car for nearly 37 minutes. He knocked on his car window and opened the door just enough to speak to Robbie. "Hey, I know I told you to take as much time as you need, but it's really cold out here, and it's already been over half an hour. If you could try to wrap it up for the night, I'd be very grateful." "Give me a moment," Robbie said in a hoarse voice. 4 minutes passed, and Robbie said, "Oh, okay, Bill, I'm good." Bill quickly entered the car and sat down in the driver's seat and closed the door. He looked at Robbie's face and saw evidence of various emotions that had taken place while Robbie was alone in the car. "I'm guessing it didn't go well," Bill said rhetorically. "I don't want to talk about it," said Robbie. "You'll get over it, Robbie," Bill said unempathetically. "Just remember, it's not the end of the world. Actually, it's my understanding that the end of the world is going to be quite exciting. So, in a way, you do have the end of the world to look forward to. Perhaps—" "Shut up!" Robbie barked. "Just shut up. You're such a jerk. Somehow you knew this was going to happen. And what's worse is you drove me all over the town tonight just to make sure that it happened. And now that it's happened, you're running your mouth off like nothing has happened. It's like you're enjoying this, you stupid jerk. You sick and twisted jerk." Bill looked at him. Author side note. Very quickly, it should be noted that Robbie has a rather limited vocabulary and doesn't like to use swear words. I don't want anyone who reads this to judge my writing based on Robbie's lack of linguistic imagination. Anyway, back to the story. Bill looked at Robbie full in the face. His eyes softened. He turned his head to look speculatively at a fixed spot outside the car window. And then Bill began to speak. "I was a senior in high school. Spring semester, as I can recall. Anyway, there was this girl, and much like you, I had a crush on her. As a matter of fact, I think I had a crush on her since freshman year. Looking back at it, she probably knew I had a crush. Somehow girls are always able to tell without asking. So, high school was coming to an end, and that's when the thought occurred. The thought that once school was over, I may never see her again. That particular possibility was very unsettling to me at the time. At that moment, I realized that I had two options. The first option was simple enough. All I needed to do was approach her and tell her how I felt. The second option was to say nothing and move on with my life. The second option was definitely the easiest, but I've never been one to take the easy route in life. So one morning before first period, I sought her out at school and found her at her locker. She was there with one of her friends, which made what I was about to do a bit more daunting. "It was daunting for you?" Robbie asked Bill with a surprised look. You should note that I was only a high schooler, and I hadn't acquired the mandatory losses a man attains in the pursuit of women. Those ineffable losses give a man perspective. They also give a man an indifference to rejection. That's why I use the word daunting. I wasn't calloused enough for it not to be daunting. Anyway, I said how I felt, and she didn't feel the same way about me. So, I turned around and walked away. "What exactly did she say?" asked Robbie. She didn't say anything, and by doing that, she said everything. Well, at least everything I needed to know at the time, said Bill. The point is that I have no regrets about what I didn't do, and neither will you. I guess so, said Robbie. He still seemed rather sad. Besides, said Bill, it would have been a waste of time. I think she was actually a lesbian. You're just saying that because she rejected you, Robbie accused. No, Robbie, Bill said with a smile. 2 years after high school, she married a woman. I don't know about you, but where I come from, that girl is definitely a lesbian. Robbie began to laugh. I suppose you're right, Bill, Robbie conceded. I usually am, said Bill while starting up his car. I don't know about you, but I feel like eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This story is a work of fiction and was uploaded at Cockatoo's secret headquarters near the North Pole, precisely 2 blocks away from Santa's house.